Welcome back to my Unreal Engine 5 Tetris-Like tutorial using C++. Alright, so today we are going to be doing the line scanner. So I went into actors. Oh, no, I went into C++ actors. C++ actors, I did the old right-click, new C++ class, and I created line scanner, which was just an actor. So over in code, let's take a look at the files that I actually changed. Oh yeah, I forgot I updated my little icon to be like a little 3D pic. Anyway, throw the U assets. All right, we'll start with tetracube.h. The first thing I did was I added a new status for the scan finished. This is to make up for the fact that I'm not currently rotating the cube. That will come later, maybe not. I'm probably going to implement it, but I'm not sure if I want to keep it in the game because it adds a level of difficulty that I'm not sure is particularly fun. I also want to play with the size of the cube to mess with the difficulty as well. I might just make it dynamic, make it something that the player can set. In any case, we added a new status. That's all that's really important here. So then in a block base, we created a new... Oh, do I not have block base .h? Not seeing it here. Blockbase.cpp. Oh, blockbase.h. There it is. So I created a new boolean, first of all, called b shifting. It is down here. And I added a is shifting down public getter to see if it was shifting. This is going to cover the case where the blocks have a line below them that is cleared and that they need to shift down to make up for the missing space. I also added this drop one line after clear. The rest of this stuff here, this all existed except for shift down. The only reason it's showing as a change is because I moved it. I like to keep in each section, I like to keep my functions at the top and then all the like properties and data and stuff down at the bottom. So that's all that happened here is I just moved these around. So now begin play and all this stuff that was down here is now up here. But the only new function is shift down, and all that is doing... Oh, I can't control click it from here. That's a bummer. So we'll go over to block base CPP. So this is the new function. It's basically doing the exact same thing as set active slice. No, that's in cube position. So it's basically doing the same thing as unset active slice, in that it's animating the shifting of position. I didn't have this implemented in the previous version of this game before I decided to tutorialize it. But all it's doing is if the block is shifting, I set actor location using vinterp2 in the ukismet math library, its current location, the incube location, passing in delta time and the switch speed, and then once it reaches its new position, then I set shifting to false. Then the other new function is this drop one line after clear. This is where I'm actually setting the new incube position. So when we clear a line, we need to remember to switch both the in play position and the incube position. So for in play position, all I'm doing is subtracting 100 from the Z, and then set in cube position is a little bit more complicated in that This, all it does is it relies on set in play position, but it's passing in the Y and then setting the shifting, B shifting is true. So just as a reminder, set in cube position, what it's actually doing is it's taking the in cube position and setting it equal to in play X, the passed in slice Y, and the in play position Z, offset by the activate deactivate distance, which is 1,000 units or 1,000 centimeters. All right, so I think, oh yeah, and then up here in tick, we have to put the shift down function and pass in delta time. Most of the time, unless it's shifting, it's just going to enter in here and then skip over it unless there's a line being cleared. But it has to be a part of tick. All right. So now when we get into the line scanner, all of this is completely new, so buckle up. Let's go to the .h file, line scanner .h. Okay, so we have a scan function, and it's I am not allowing the line scanner to tick, but it is going to be called from a ticking function in the player board. So I need to pass in delta time, and it's returning a status. We also have, as far as public functions go, we have a set scan, which is basically setting should scan equal to, should scan is equal to should scan. Now I'm confused. So is scanning equal to should scan. Should scan is what's being passed in. Yeah, it's weird. I get confused when I use these force in lines sometimes. We're passing in a boolean should scan, and then we're setting the boolean b should scan equal to it, and b is scanning equal to it. And then for is scanning, it's a public getter, and it's just returning if it is scanning. All right, now let's go through these one by one. We'll start with begin play. So here's the line scanner. All right, these I think we can go through just kind of in the order that they already are. These are my includes if you're following along. The line scanner doesn't need to tick. I set a scanner mesh. This is all set up the same way that it is in any other actor. Over here in line scanner.h, we have the sensor box and the scanner mesh. I made them blueprint rewrite, gave them a category of attributes. And these are the names. We're setting them over here in the constructor, and the root is the actual mesh. And then I am attaching the block sensor to the root component so that they move together. All right, now here's some meat and potatoes. So that inline function that's a public setter, I'm setting B should scan. And so if we should scan, B is scanning equals true. We're going to set the actor location, interping to its current location, to the scanner position, X and Y, and the bottom scan. For the Z, which is, I think it'll be like 1100. Yeah, bottom scan is 1100. So it's moving from the top where it starts, which is top scan, is 2100. So it's starting at the top, starts scanning, moves from the top, it interps to the bottom scan. Once it reaches the bottom, so if the current location, get actor location, is equal to scanner X, scanner Y, and bottom scan, then should scan switches to false, which means that as we keep scanning, now we're going to be at the bottom, because should scan is false. Now we're interping from the current location to the top scan by delta time at the scan speed. And then once we reach the top, we're setting B as scanning to false, and we're returning the board status scan finished. Otherwise, as we're scanning through, we're going to check clear lines each time, and if it's still going, we're going to return the status that is still scanning. Now that I think about it, no, I think this is fine. I was thinking maybe I should do check clear lines in each of these if statements, but no, I don't need to, because we're only doing this early return if the scan is finished, and if the scan is finished, it won't still be clearing lines, so that's okay. All right, so that's all the logic to figure out if we are still scanning or if we're on the way down or on the way back up, and checking to clear lines each time we hit. All right, in begin play. Now, this is something I did a little different from the last time. Since I have a reference to the player pawn, this is something else I set up in the header file. Take a look at that. Yeah, I made a T object pointer of a player board and called it player pawn. So we have a reference to the cube, and thus we have, or not the cube, we have a reference to the player board, which is the player pawn, and which gives us access to everything that the player pawn has access to, which is the cube itself, all the blocks that are in play, etc., etc. The scanner position, I wanted to set it to the middle cube position. So over in player board, I created a new function called a new public getter called get middle cube. And all it's doing is returning the component location of the cube, or of the center of the cube, which will eventually be the rotation point of the cube. And I'm setting the actor location because right now, since the scanner position is going to be in the middle of the cube, I wanted to start at the top. Then I set the actor location to the scanner position X, position Y, and then default it to the top of the scan. So that way, no matter how it's set up in player board, it will always go to the correct position after it hits begin play here. And checking to clear lines. So if we are currently scanning, I'm creating a T set of actors. The block sensor box, I get overlapping all actors, but I'm looking for a T subclass of a block base. And the scanned blocks equals the number of out actors. So that'll be the number of blocks being touched by the scanner or overlapped with the scanner at any given point. If the number of the out actors equals 100, if the player pawn exists, then we're going to take the line level, which is clear line out actors, clear line returns an int 16. We'll get to that in a moment. And then we move all the blocks down to the new line level. So in clear line, we have the line level. which starts at the top scan. Cleared lines, we increment that by 1. This isn't being used anywhere, I don't believe. It'll eventually be used for like scoring, I'm thinking. But then we loop through all of the blocks. We're casting them to a block base because they're going to be out actors, which are just A actors. This is kind of doing that many casts is kind of inefficient, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything in a game this small. But after we cast it, we're going through all the blocks in play and removing the casted block. The line level is set to the cast block hit actor location Z. That is the Z location of the line, and then we're destroying it and then passing the line level back here, and then we're moving the blocks down. So when move blocks down, we're looking at that line level of what just cleared, and if the block location equals get actor location for each block, if the Z level is higher than the line level, then we're going to drop one line after clear, which we already talked about up here. So that covers everything for the line scanner. We already went over these getters. Check if it's scanning. That's going to be used in the player board. We went through all the functions. Should scan. Yeah, scan speed. Scan blocks. Yeah, that's the number of blocks being hit by the overlapped with the scanner. Cleared lines. That's the scoring. Okay, yeah, I think that covers everything there. The last thing to look at is the player board itself. So I had to add linescanner.h. I also moved. I had several things that needed forward declarations, but they weren't like in the right spot. So I moved them up here. I already went over this get middle cube. It's just a getter for the center of the cube. I switched a couple of things over to be T object pointers because I believe that if you're making a call to or getting an instance or a pointer to a class that you declared, I think it's supposed to be a T object pointer. So I just switched those. Functionally, I'm not sure what the difference is. I think it has something to do with garbage collection. But that's the only reason that these are highlighted. These are all the ones that I forward declared. So it's showing a change here, but these lines are actually all still the same. The only thing that's new is I'm creating this T subclass of the line scanner, which is going to be a pointer to the blueprint itself of the line scanner. I changed the player controller to a T object pointer. Not sure if that's correct, considering a player controller is part of the engine, but it seems to be working, so I left it like that. It does make me wonder that up here, when I'm declaring like U-box components and stuff, if these should be T object pointers too. But in any case, we have a reference to the player ref that already existed, just made it a T object pointer, and then we added a T object pointer to the new line scanner. This is going to be the instance. Up above, this is just the T subclass of, so that we can spawn it in. All right, so then when we head back over to player board CPP, got the header file for the line scanner. Oh yeah, I also noticed that the middle cube was in the wrong position. It was at like 650 before. Yeah, 650. So I changed it to negative 550. I believe that is correct. I'm not sure if it was working properly. And it seemed like it was in the previous version, but it didn't make any sense to me because when I put the line scanner at -650, it was offset by one cube width from where it needed to. So I corrected that. But then down here in tick, we added two more if statements. So if the board status is scanning, then we're going to set the board status equal to the scanner.scan. And that is that function that we hit over in, well, in scan, passing in the delta time. So this is going to handle all the movement and animations. So as we're scanning, it's going to be constantly hitting this, returning that we are still scanning, or it's going to tell us that we are finished scanning. And then if we get the scan finished returned from the scan function, then we're going to change the active slice. All right, already talked about that. This is okay. So this is where we are actually creating the instance of the scanner itself. So we are doing get world spawn actor. We're spawning the line scanner. That is line scanner. This is the T subclass of. Get middle cube is where we are spawning it. So I'm just kind of throwing it up in the middle position. But once this thing hits its own begin play, it's going to move it all the way to the top. I just put it get middle cube to satisfy this where it wants it to spawn. And then the rotation, I want it to match the player board. All right, so down in the status picker, we have, I added this. If the block is shifting down, if it's not shifting down, then we want to set the status to EBS switching. This is the status for switching slices. It has nothing to do with the animation of the scanner going up and down. So I had to add this exception in here so it wouldn't stop the scanner from scanning in the middle as it was clearing a block. But if the scanner is scanning, then we're returning is scanning. And then I added back in a bunch of the on-screen debug messages because I was having an issue with the status. I can probably comment those out. And then I had to uncomment. It's the end slice. Take the scanner, set the scan to true. And the board status is set to scanning. I'm not sure if this line is even necessary considering it's going to hit the status picker anyway and then return that is scanning. But I believe that covered everything. The only thing left was once I had all that set up in C++, I did a right click and created a blueprint based on it and stuck it up here in content blueprints actors and called it BP line scanner. And go into the viewport here. So I set the static mesh equal to SM line clear. And the material, I set it to the clear coat black, same as the player board. And then the sensor box, I set its extent to 500, 500 by 10. So you can see it highlighted in here. It's basically just a 10 unit width thing just on the inside of the block or the scanner itself. Now, you know what I didn't do is double check the actual collisions. Yeah, we want it to generate overlap events. We want it to be custom. We want it to ignore everything except for world static. Want it to overlap the pawn. Now the meshes have their own collision as well. Check that. Custom, set it to ignore everything. Not generate overlap events. Okay. Now we're not doing collision detection on the mesh. It is not necessary. Okay, so I believe we can test. This is a long one. Shit. Alright, I won't make you watch me play, but when I get to the end with the scanner, I'll show you it working. Okay, we're back. I'm on the current slice of 10. Oh wait, eject. I'm about to switch over. So, oh yeah, and I do believe, yeah, so the bottom is completely full, so we should finish that, and that is the only line that should be cleared. Play, so that should move up. Scan, then we move down. Perfect. Okay, well, I'm gonna end this here. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's nice and long. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I will see you in the next one.